my name is Anise Palacios. Have you ever wondered how you can interact with the world? Like actually, how are you perceiving this video right now? How can our eyes take in so much information while our mind races? How can we perceive feelings like fear? How do we know we are in danger? How are senses perceived? What are the cause of some major diseases like Alzheimer's? What if the brain is damaged by a hit to the head? How does stress and emotions interact? How can we better understand mental disorders that significantly affect society today? These are all questions that can be answered through the material we have learned. First, let's get familiar with sight. Wavelength is responsible for the perception of color and intensity because it influences the perception of brightness. Sensitivity is the power to sense the existence of dimly lit objects, while acuity is the power to visualize the particular details of objects. When the stage of illumination increases and sensitivity doesn't matter, the visual system utilizes the situation by constricting the pupils. When pupils constrict, the visual showing on each retina is more defined and there is a better depth of focus. But when the stage of illumination decreases to sufficiently trigger the receptors, the pupils dilate to allow more light, which sacrifices acuity and depth of focus. When we focus our sights on something close, the pressure on the ligaments that hold each lens in place is modified, which ensures close objects are in sharp focus. When we concentrate on a far object, the lens is flattened. Predators usually have front-facing eyes because this allows them to precisely perceive how distant prey animals are, while prey animals usually have side-facing eyes because this allows them a bigger field of vision and the capability to visualize predators coming closer from all different directions. Moving on, our visual field is taken into our eye muscles and sent to be perceived. The outside world contains lots of information that goes from our eyes to our perceptions of the world. For instance, each individual area of the visual system is responsible for interpreting the various aspects of visual like shape, color, movement. We may ask the question of how much the brain intertwines different sensory characteristics to make complex perceptions. This is commonly known as the binding problem. On another note, have you ever wondered why even in a loud, distractful environment, you can hear your name being called? This is called the cocktail party effect. The brain has a selective hearing, and no matter how focused you may be in the conversation, your name can still be recognized. However, not everyone can perceive certain things. One of them being asomatognosia, which is a disability in being aware of the individual's own body part caused by the damage to the right parietal lobe. Our brain is responsible for relaying sensory messages, but if our brain experiences damage or problems, it may affect our daily living. Sensing our environment is very important because it helps us be aware of our surroundings, and damage to the brain can alter someone's quality of living drastically. Many people, around 50 to 60 million, have gone through a traumatic brain injury annually, and around 50% of people will go through TBI at least one time in their life. Contusions are one of the forms of close-headed TBIs. Contusions happen when damage to the cerebral circulatory system, which means internal bleeding, happens, also known as bruising. Even though the skull is very hard and tough to protect the brain, this is ultimately what leads to a contusion to occur, because the brain can be pushed against the skull due to harsh motion and blows to the head. Blood can bleed into the subdural space between the dural matter and the arachnoid membrane, affecting the neural tissue. The blood that accumulates in this space is called subdural hematoma. Strokes are rapid, severe cerebrovascular disorders that lead to brain damage. Strokes are known to be the fifth outcome of death in the United States and the after effects of a stroke include amnesia, aphasia, psychiatric disorders, dementia, paralysis, and coma. Alzheimer's disease is a very common dementia found in some of the elderly, which is present with neurofibrillary tangles, amyloid plaques, and neuron loss. Now, those may have made you scared, because the brain is a vital organ. As we proceed in life, we may encounter a fearful experience. We may question why certain stimuli produce a fierce response. Fear is the emotional response that takes place when an existence or prediction of a threat is present. We can create fear for a certain conditional stimulus by connecting the fear with the unconditional stimulus. We can recognize fear just by looking at someone's face. Lastly, as we talked about in the last chapter about fear, high stressful situations and fear-provoking situations can make it more probable to develop a mental illness. I will talk about some of the illnesses and treatments that may be appropriate. Anxiety is a severe terror or alarm that continues even when there is no threat present or the threat is gone. Treatments include benzodiazepines, cognitive behavioral therapy, and exposure therapy. Bipolar disorder is a type of mental disorder that has to do with a series of high, happy, intense episodes and depressive episodes. Usually mood stabilizers such as lithium help stabilize mood and prevent episodes of mania and depression, while depression can impair cognitive functions and make it difficult to live day to day because partaking in a job, consuming foods, and social interaction with your environment tends to deteriorate self-worth and value of life. Schizophrenia is a chronic and severe mental disorder that affects how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. It often involves experiencing delusions, hallucinations, disorganized thinking, and abnormal social behavior. There are positive and negative symptoms of schizophrenia. Positive usually entails that there is an addition, and negative symptoms usually mean a loss or loss of experience. People with schizophrenia may have difficulty distinguishing between what is real and what is not real, which can lead to significant impairments in daily function. Treatment involves a combination of antipsychotic medications, therapy, and support services. And as I end off with this segment, I would like to thank you for listening to my presentation, and I'm happy to expand my brain about more neuroscience and psychology, and it has been quite a journey to really dive into what makes the brain the brain. Thank you.